My name is Christian with Ace Appliance out of Toledo, Ohio. Welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. So today for this repair you will need a number 2 Phillips head drill bit for the drill, or a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, a multimeter to test the element, pliers to help take off the old element and bend the terminals. Same thing with the diagonal cutters to help install the new element and take the old one out, and a screwdriver. Alright, today we're going to be working on a GE electric dryer. Customer's complaint that is when she has an easy care, which is medium heat or low heat, she believes it's not heating well. So we're going to put it on a time dry cycle here, select the medium heat, go ahead and start the unit. Now that noise sounds like it's coming from her front bearing. There's some glides on it. What happens is from use, normal wear and tear, it rubs through the glides, which then rubs through the front bearing. It's a plastic bearing, and it creates this noise because it's rubbing on the metal. So that's a different issue she's having already right off the bat. So what I'm doing now, I mean, it's been running for 20 seconds. We should feel some heat inside. I'm gonna go ahead and open the door, and there's a medium heat in there. At least that's what it feels like. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the door. I'll let it run again, and I'm gonna go outside and check the airflow out of the vent. I just came back from outside to make sure the vent is clear, which it's blowing out good, and it is clear. It's producing a little bit of heat on the medium heat. So what I did was put it back on the regular heat, and I'm gonna see what happens. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we need to remove the top off the dryer here. There's 2 Phillips style screws on the bottom on each side. Once you remove them, just set the screws aside, you'll need them later. The top here will pop up and pop off. You can go ahead and set this aside. Next, there was 2 more 1/4 inch screws on each side, one on each side, that hold the front panel onto the cabinet. You want to go ahead and remove those as well. And top will pop open. If you want, you can disconnect the wires from the door switch here. If not, with the power cord unplugged, of course. You can go and flip this around. Just let it lean against the dryer here, or the washing machine. Okay, next thing you want to do is remove the drive belt off the motor and idler pulley. It's a little hard to do. Careful, because you could cut yourself on the side here. Go ahead and remove the belt from the pulley first, and then the motor. Go ahead and, when you're removing your arms out of the motor location, pull the bottom of the belt towards you so it's on the outside so it doesn't get caught in the pulley when you're removing the drum. Next, to remove the drum, set it on one side. GE dryers have a design to where you have to bend one of the sides to get the drum out. It can be a little tricky. Go ahead and bend the side and remove the drum. Set it aside. Using a multimeter, you want to either check for ohms or check the continuity on the continuity or ohm setting on your meter, depending on what it is. And go ahead and check from the single. This is a dual element. It comes off one. It hooks up to the terminal block on one side here, and then hooks up to each element on this side, setting it 120 to complete the 240 circuit. So you want to get on the one side with one lead. I got the continuity here, and I got continuity there. The heating element right here is broken. Just a second ago, it was touching, so it was making a continuity contact here. on both strands. If I move this to the side and check it again, I get no continuity. So the diagnosis for this dryer is it needs a new heating element, a new front bearing with 4 glides. So the reason why we had to replace the glides is you can see this one has been worn down and it's rubbed all the way through. It started rubbing through the plastic front bearing here as well. So the front bearing has to be replaced. There's 4 of these glides, one right here, and on the opposite sides in the exact same place. Alright, so we're going to replace the bearing. Take the old one off. There's 2, it's snapped in place right here. So I'll go ahead and, now it may sound like something's breaking, which is okay. So I want to go ahead and, just use a little pressure to get the old one out. Once you do so, the old one snaps right out. As you can see in the new one, just like the old one, there's a crevice here for a light bulb. Some GE dryers have the light bulb, some don't. This one does. So we want to go ahead and punch the little knockout by breaking the little 2 tabs. Set it to the side. Okay, so to install a new one, you want to go ahead and line it up. Now, there's a little crevice in the back here that's this sheet has to slide into on the new bearing. So you want to go ahead and line it up. Make sure you do it or else it'll, get caught in clothes or will come off. Go ahead and push it in there. Make sure it's in there good. And when you're installing the new glides, there's little prongs that stick out, and there's a hole on the glide itself. So you want to go ahead and insert the hole or the prong inside the hole here, like so. Now there's 4 of them, so make sure you do all 4 correctly. Okay, so to install a new one, of course, the old one does have to come out first. So there's 3 wire terminals and 3 wires that go to the heating element. You want to go ahead and remove the wires from the element before you take it off, of course. Now, the terminals have little notches on the bottom side here that you do have to bend straight before you can pull the terminal through. Once you get the terminals out, the terminal blocks, you want to go ahead and start pulling each side out. Most of the times it's not just easy to pull the old one out. You usually have to do it in sections, but this one is cooperating quite well. So this is how the new heating element comes. It doesn't come stretched out like the one we took out. So stretching out is something that you will have to do. It is pretty difficult to do this job. If you don't stretch it out, if you stretch it out too far, it'll burn up. If you stretch it out too close, it'll burn up. Once you've stretched the coils out, you have to start on the right side here to start feeding them through. So the shorter coil, of course, goes on the inside, and the longer coil, of course, goes on the outside. But like I said, before you start feeding them in, you have to bend these little tabs inwards so it fits through the insulators. There's one on each side of each terminal. Careful not to break the wire. Alright, like I said, be careful not to bend or break the heating coil while you're still feeding it through. And just take your time doing this because you don't want to have to start the job over again. I'm actually going to take these insulators out while I do the inner coil. That way they don't get in the way and break or bend my inner coil here. And it makes it easier. So we just finished the inner coil. Now we're going to go ahead and start on the outer coil. Again, be very careful when you start and through the whole process, so you don't have to buy another coil. Just be careful the coils don't get cut on the screws that are holding the thermal fuse in, because that could ruin your whole day. You know what I mean? If it stretches it out, because once it's stretched out, there's no going back. So now, since we have it all stretched out and it's where it's supposed to be, we can go ahead and install the heater terminals into the terminal blocks themselves. Be careful still, you don't want to break the heating element. Now make sure the coils are straightened out and none of them are hanging too close or too far. One thing we did before we started installing the first inner coil, we took out the insulators here. So we're going to want to go ahead and reinstall those. The wire, the heating element coil does go in the insulators here. So be careful still, you don't want to break the heating element. Now we're going to reassemble the unit. First thing we have to do is put the drum in. I prefer taking off the belt and then getting half the drum in, because the belt will get caught on the cabinet of the drum. I mean the cabinet of the dryer. Go ahead and put it in first. You have it in about halfway. Go ahead. The ribs of the belt face down on the drum. Now there's a bearing in the back that the drum spindle plugs into. So go ahead and align it up. Once it's on there, you can lift the drum up from the front and the back will be balanced from that bearing. Go ahead and reinstall the belt. You want to get your arms in there and be careful because the sharp edges. Pull the pulley to the right while you swing the belt onto the motor pulley. Once it's installed, you'll feel the tension of the pulley snug on the belt. Once you've done so, you go ahead and swing the front panel, the front door panel, back over. There's two tabs on the bottom here that you have to put the front panel in. There's holes on each side. Lift the drum up, push the front panel in. Make sure it lines up on both sides. Once it does, go ahead and reinstall the number 2 Phillips screw to the left and the right. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and reinstall the top panel with the 2 screws. Once you get it in place, go ahead and you can just go ahead and pound each side a little bit, and it snaps or it slides right into place. Once you're done, reinsert the 2 Phillips screws. Once you've done that, go ahead and plug the dryer back in and test it. Once we have the unit reassembled, we want to go ahead and test the unit. So what we're looking for in the back here is, in a minute we'll see the heating element through these holes glowing red. And that is the red glow I am talking about. So now we know the heating element is working. Thank you for watching another quality video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.